I was willing to undertake this assignment so long as there were no conditions attached to it, that I was able to call him as I saw him, and there was no attempt to determine the outcome or guide the investigation that we were to undertake. We were to go wherever the evidence led. We were guaranteed and received total independence in the conduct of the review, and that's very important because to me, I treasure my independence and my reputation for independence, and I must say it was fully observed by the family and the representatives of the family with whom I dealt. Well, I expected to find that Louis Freeh had done his usual thorough and professional job. And I'm sorry to say I found that there were some fundamental flaws with the treatment of Mr. Paterno. I found the report to be inaccurate in some respects, to be speculative and unsupported by the record that was compiled in the course of preparing the report, and in short, fundamentally flawed with respect to the determinations made as to the role, if any, that Mr. Paterno played in any of this. It tells me that the effort was one that was incomplete, one that was truncated, one that left a lot to be desired when it came to getting to the basic truths involved in the activities that took place here, with regard to Mr. Paterno in particular. I think it's important to make a distinction between the quantity of evidence and the quality of evidence. They missed so many key people. They didn't interview most of the key players, with the exception of President Spanier, who at the last minute was brought in and interviewed at a time when, frankly, the report was probably pretty well all prepared. That I don't matter how many people you interview, if you're not talking to the right ones and getting the right material, then you're going to have a flawed investigation. We found nothing tangible at all within the report that gave any credence to the notion that Mr. Paterno was more interested in the reputation of the football program than he was in seeing that this was duly reported and followed up by appropriate investigators and law enforcement officials. And there's certainly a view out there that was articulated in the report that this was all about football, that football was the most important thing, and that if something was going to prejudice the football program, that he ought to exert every effort to keep it under the wraps. Well, there's nothing in the record that indicates that. That's the kind of speculation that we all indulge in from time to time when we think lesser of people. But that's not got a basis in the record. And a report like this deserves to have a solid record as the basis for its finding. And it's not there. The university, among all institutions in our society, respects the truth. If there's one thing that will erode faith in our system of justice, it's sloppiness or a lack of care in preparing the kinds of reports that are necessary to underlie an effective system of justice. So it is with a report such as this, which, while not providing a basis for law enforcement activity, supplies a basis for making judgments about individuals and institutions. It has to be right. It has to be pursued until it's right. I don't want to be too harsh on the people involved. As I indicated, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Freeh's reputation as an investigator and prosecutor. These were men and women of substance who served on the board. I'm sure they acted in good faith. But there was an enormous buildup of pressure to get this job done and to hold culpable people who were thought to be involved in any wrongdoing. And oftentimes that produces a result that outruns the record. That I mean to say, here you've got a record developed through document reviews and interviews and all of the laborious detail that was set forth in the report. And it simply falls short of sustaining the allegations that were set forth in the report. And the only explanation I can think of for that is that there was just a rush to injustice.